Wherever you are, I hope the weather's better than it is here. It's cold and raw here. Anyway, I'm going to call the meeting of the Nantucket Memorial Airport Commission for May 14th, 2019 to order. And announce that this meeting is both being audio and video recorded. Are there any comments on the agenda? No. If not, hearing none, and the agenda is approved. I have not personally reviewed the minutes, so I'm going to ask that we postpone the adoption, the acceptance of the minutes till the next meeting. Is that all right with everybody?
So moved. That's fine.
And is there a motion to ratify the warrants of April 24th, 2019 and May 8th, 2019?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Is there public comment at this time? Is Mr. Sistari here? Sir, would you like to come up to the microphone and introduce yourself?
Did we have to do a roll call for that or not?
I didn't take a vote.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Sistari, and I am the Chief Commercial Officer for Southern Airways Express. Most of you probably have not heard of our airline, even though we are now the largest commuter carrier in the 50 United States, because we do not currently fly anywhere near New England. However, I am a New Englander, and I am a Massachusetts resident. I live in Newton, and I have vacationed here many, many times. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world. I'm here today to tell you all about Southern Airways and some of the thoughts that we have for hopefully becoming part of this community and helping provide some additional service to your airport. I have been speaking with your team here, both Tom and Noah, for a couple of years at conferences which they attend. In the airline business now, because of the severe shortage of pilots and the consolidation of airlines, it's become very competitive to attract air service to many communities. Not so much the case here because you have one of the most popular destinations in the country, perhaps the world, but for a lot of the country, there's not a lot of airlines, and there's a lot of cities without airline service. So a couple times a year, we airlines get together with communities and basically do a speed dating event where they tell us about them and we tell them about us. And Nantucket has been on Southern Airways list the entire 6 years I've been with the company. So let me tell you a little bit about us. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer. There's 6 of us who run the company. Our company was founded back in...
Excuse me, I forgot something to announce at the beginning. Sorry,
Yes, sir.
just for interrupting. Commissioner Planzer is participating in this meeting by telephone because her physical attendance would be, what's the word? Unreasonably difficult.
Thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
So our company was founded in 2013 by Stan Little, who's a businessman and attorney in Memphis. He lives in Memphis, and he had a beach house down in Destin in the Florida Panhandle, and he started chartering airplanes to go down there. And before you know it, he had 3 aircraft, and he was running basically a charter operation. The next year, he purchased a large Chicago-based aviation provider, a charter company called Executive Express Aviation, and had his sights on growing the company. I, at that time, was working for Sun Air Express. We were a Fort Lauderdale-based commuter, and Mr. Little and his team purchased us and was kind enough to keep myself and the chief commercial and the chief operating officer as part of the team. So we spent the next year basically reworking and expanding our company to be positioned for growth. The economy is very strong, and as I said at the outset, there's not a lot of airlines, and the move towards 9-seat operations is really the future, mostly because the big airlines are gobbling up all the pilots. So you don't see very many 19-seaters or 30-seaters or 37-seaters, because to fly a 19-seater now, your pilot needs to be certified at the same level as a 70-seater. And it stands to reason if there's fewer pilots, the airlines would rather have them flying bigger planes. So anyway, in September 2016, we as the new Southern were re-awarded all of Sun Air's essential air service routes, and the company kept growing. Next slide. We had grown so fast that we actually had to enter into a lease with an airline called Mokulele that flew the same aircraft type to provide service to our cities. And we kept growing, and we won 3 new contracts in the Mid-Atlantic, and we opened a hub at BWI Airport with 22 flights a day. 2 months later, we won 3 contracts in Arkansas. After one of our competitors went out of business, we were able to mobilize and step in for them in 45 days. While all this was going on, the nationwide pilot shortage was getting worse and worse and worse, and one of the things that we did was enter into an agreement with a large regional airline so that when a first officer comes to work for us, they receive a sign-on bonus from this large regional, $10,000 bonus, and if they stay with us for 24 months, they get an automatic sit to fly a jet, which isn't a bad deal for a 23-year-old pilot on the way up. The biggest news really for us happened last June when we were able to enter into an interline agreement with American Airlines. And what that basically means is that you can go on your AA.com website and put in any one of our cities and fly anywhere in the world on American Airlines with one ticket. You can check your bags through. If their flight cancels or our flight cancels, you have protection on those carriers. And since that time, our traffic on American is up over 50%. Just this past November, we opened a new hub in Florida. Our headquarters is in Pompano Beach, Florida, between West Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale, but we didn't have any service intra-Florida. We opened up flights between Palm Beach and Tampa, Palm Beach and Key West, Tampa and Jacksonville, and Tampa and Destin on the Florida Panhandle. So we now have a Florida hub as well. And finally, just 6 weeks ago, we acquired Mokulele Airlines, which is a 25-year-old commuter in Hawaii that was flying 110 flights a day with the very same Cessna Caravan aircraft that we operate. So if you go to the next slide, that is what Southern Airways looks like today. Our Mid-Atlantic operation, we have a hub at Pittsburgh, where I was this morning. We have 60 flights a day there. We have 22 in Baltimore. Our Gulf Coast routes include our Dallas hub, our Florida operation. We have one route in California that we inherited from Mokulele, from LA down to the Mexican border, Imperial, California. And we now have 9 cities served in Hawaii, more than any other airline. Next slide. So in summary, we have 222 daily departures, 30,000 passengers a month, 500 employees, 200 pilots, 35 aircraft. We're basically a $60 million company at this point, and we very much are in it for the long haul. When we come into a community, we're not Delta Airlines, we're not American Airlines. You can see from our list of cities, many of the places that we fly are quite small. The facilities sometimes are very constrained. There's a lot of sensitivity in some of the communities about noise and about operations in general. We don't march in and say our way or the highway. We are very respectful of local, priorities, and we like to be a good neighbor. We get very involved in the communities that we're in. We sponsor tons of things. We do all kinds of community activities. We give away tickets for charitable causes, and we really become part of the community. So our initial proposal for this summer is to provide service from here to an airport in suburban Boston, Norwood, Mass. That's because that's where the aircraft, that brand new Cessna Caravan aircraft that I flew here on today with only 40 hours on the aircraft, is headquartered. They have never had commercial service before, but I presented to their commission last Thursday night, and they unanimously support the idea and embrace it. We also are looking very closely at possibly replacing the service from here to Providence, Rhode Island, that was vacated by Cape Air a couple of years ago, largely due to the pilot shortage. I used to run the Convention and Visitor Bureau in Providence. I'm very familiar with the market, and we think that both ends of the route in both directions would be well served by that. We're also looking at another suburban airport in Massachusetts, Beverly, north of Boston, and we're talking to New Haven, Connecticut, who also has expressed an interest. So our plan for this summer would be to do 3 cities, and we will make the decision on those cities by this Friday. We also are interested in possibly doing a year-round operation here. We don't want to just come in the summer. These aircraft are going to be based in New England, and we know, there has been a reduction in service here with the closure of Island Air, and pretty much the options are very limited at this point. We have a very good working relationship with Cape Air. I'm very good friends with my colleague there, but competition is always a good thing. We don't intend to go to Logan Airport, but we think our suburban service to Boston would be a nice complement to them. In terms of fares, we are looking to be competitive, move people off the ferry if possible. We will be cheaper than charter, and our one-way fares will be between $199 and $329 each way, depending on the time of day and the day of the week and the season. And initially, we would just operate Thursday through Monday. So this would primarily be a leisure and weekend service. The final schedule will grow out of the cities that we end up serving, but we see basically 4 operations at the airport per day, no remaining overnight aircraft, no need for parking positions or hangaring. We don't have any lavatory on our aircraft, so there's no need for those services. There's no catering. We would buy fuel, and we would probably have a line maintenance agreement with the FBO here as well. We would like to begin the service on June 13th and make a commitment of 4 months, running the service all the way through Columbus Day on the 14th of October. And over the course of the summer, we would determine what the year-round potential for the market would be. Our goal would be to operate year-round if possible. That's a lot to digest, so at this point, I am happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Well, I don't know if it's a question or it's a concern. You did say you were looking possibly for the leisure people. 199 to 239 or whatever you said is pretty steep for what I call the locals. So you're not looking to get the local market necessarily.
Well, I mean, the cost basis of our aircraft is what it is, and
Right.
we need to achieve a certain revenue model. I think if we establish ourselves here, and we are an unknown brand, if we can fly at a higher load factor, we can probably lower the fares, but it's probably going to take a few months to do that. So my hope would be if we could move second homeowners and leisure people over the summer at a slightly higher fare. By the time the fall rolls around and we have a following, we might be able to offer a lower local fare.
Thank you.
What's the parking situation in Beverly, Norwood and Beverly?
The auto parking,
Auto parking,
it's free.
it's free.
Yeah. Although we anticipate a lot of the locals would be dropped off, just because it's such a convenient airport. But there is plenty of parking at both of the airports. And again, we're doing 8 seats, so if it's 2 people coming, in couples, we're talking about 4 cars a day, that's not going to be a major impact.
No, I was just thinking of the convenience factor.
High convenience versus the $35 I paid when I got my car out of Hock at Logan on Friday. So, yes.
You'll have 2 pilots or 1 pilot?
We fly both ways. We're certified to fly with 1 pilot, but because we're so fast growing, we like to do development of our first officers whenever possible. When we put out a feeler to our team about the option of flying this service, we were overwhelmed with interest. So we have plenty of pilots, and I think getting them here, especially in the summer, is not going to be a hard sell. So we're certified to fly with 1. We almost typically always fly with 2.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
My sense is that that all of the service could be quite beneficial to Nantucket as well as the surrounding Boston community. I think there's a real opportunity with Providence,
Right.
for sure, and the interconnectivity in your inline agreement could really work out well. Would you commit to following our voluntary noise abatement routes?
Yes, actually, Noah shared the map with me today. I'm a private pilot, inactive at this point, but also very familiar with Hanscom Airfield and noise sensitivity. So we would be very, very vigilant about that. And again, because we're a small company, that's something that we can easily work into our training with our pilots.
Thank you.
Yep.
What about your ground handling here on the Nantucket?
Well, one of the big issues we have to decide, which I won't be able to decide until my visit to Providence tomorrow and New Haven on Friday, is whether we go sterile or non-sterile. Both ways can work for us, and if we go sterile, we'll probably have 1 set of handling conditions, and if we go non-sterile, another. We might look at having our own employee here under certain circumstances. We also, because we have the handling agreement, the interline agreement with American, our preference would be to have them work with us locally if they have the bandwidth to do that. They're not on the property here until June 1st, so we're going to reach out to them separately and see if it's something they're interested in. It's 4 flights a day with 8 passengers. It's something they theoretically should be able to handle, but sometimes the big airlines just have certain rules that are not negotiable.
And what about ticketing and that kind of thing?
Yep. We're a very high-touch customer service company. We have a 24-hour call center, and about 1/3 of our customers are elderly because we fly from small Pennsylvania markets where there's a lot of retired people who are flying off to their second home. Our call center handles a lot of that. We also, you can book on our website. You can book on aa.com. We would have a kiosk here, but we would not have an unattended situation. We would always have a live body to assist. That's just the way we operate.
On site or remotely?
No, on site. Yeah. Yeah, we would either have our own person or we would contract and train that person.
Okay. Andrea, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Any further questions?
No, I don't.
Thank you, Mr. Sistari.
Okay, and our follow-through with Tom and Noah will be based on what we learn. In the next couple days, I'll be back. If you guys have any further question, they have my contact information.
Could we get a hard copy of your slides, please?
Noah has them,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And I really want to emphasize that the way that we do business, we really get involved in the community, and I really feel like this is a place, knowing the local market, that we would do very well, and we would very much welcome the opportunity to be part of your community.
Well, if you decide to come, we will welcome you.
Yeah,
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rafter, do you have any particular comment on
No,
this proposal?
I'd like to reiterate a little bit about what Mark said about, it kind of pays off going to these speed dating sessions occasionally too. And it was ironic when I've known Mark for a number of years, but we have a guy from New England who was working for an airline who had no service in New England. And he told us a couple of years ago, we're seriously looking at various spots. So it's good to see them here. As he said, they came in today. He came in a brand new well, it was 40 hours on the airplane. He has a newer airplane coming in this week. So it's nice to see something like this come to fruition, hopefully. And I think it'd be a great service for us.
Just one more question before you do. I assume this sort of service will be based at Norwood. Is that a fair statement?
Well, our maintenance base that would cover this area is actually in Lancaster, PA.
Would you mind coming down to the microphone again? I'm sorry.
Our systems operation control for flight ops is in Pompano Beach. So our flight following is there. Our closest maintenance facility is in Lancaster, PA, and that's where the heavy maintenance would be done. We would contract for line maintenance here. The Norwood setup is mostly just a hangaring situation. Until we reach a certain volume level, we wouldn't open a maintenance operation there. The flight level aviation will maintain the caravans for us. And when we hit a point, if we grow there, then we'll bring our own people in.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. Good luck in Providence.
I'll let you know how we do.
Please.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Mr. Rafter, the pending leases and contracts?
We have a number of them this evening because we're getting ready to get into the high season. The first is an operating agreement with American Airlines. That's their seasonal air service agreement for $6,960 plus the annual business fee. Island Barge is an amendment and restatement of the lease. It's the extension, their 10-year option, and that is a revenue income of about $104,766.
Over what? Is that over the 10 years or is that per year?
I think that's over 10.
Over 10 years, I'm thinking too.
10,000 a year?
That doesn't make
Doesn't
sense.
sound like enough. 100,000.
No.
Well, actually, it is about 100,000 because because I'm thinking about each acre is about 38 to 50,000. So
Okay,
yeah.
so it's annually.
Yes.
This should be an annual number. All right,
Yep.
good.
Those usually are annual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, but I wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Yeah, it's $87.30 a month.
Right. That's true. You're right.
Next is a license agreement with Jet East Corporation. That's an annual business fee for performing aircraft maintenance. We have a beach license with the Act Surf School, another business fee of $1,500. Ross Retrix, $1,500 business fee, and that's for the ground handling of JetBlue. We have an operating agreement with Tradewind Aviation, annual business fee plus landing and ramp fees, and that's their Part 135 operator. Then we have the JetBlue operating agreement, which is about $36,750 plus the landing and other associated fees.
Excuse me. Let me just go back to Tradewinds for a moment. Is there's some interference on the conference phone? Andrea, are you in a place where I could call you directly?
Yeah, I mean, you can call me on my cell phone.
Yeah, because we've got interference on this line. Somebody else is half participating in our call. So I'm gonna call you.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna call you back on your cell phone, if you don't mind.
Okay,
All right.
that's great.
Give me just a minute, just a second.
That extension is not valid.
Hello?
Hi, how are you? We're back again.
Hey. Oh, good. Is this better?
It is, I think, yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear us all right?
I can hear you great. Yes, better.
Okay, good. All right, I just had a question about trade winds. They have that operation for handling baggage and so forth out in the parking lot. How's that? That's not covered by this. That's a separate agreement?
Yeah, it's basically an informal agreement. We've worked with them where we used to provide the tent in the past. They pick up the tent.
So they don't pay us anything extra for that?
No,
Okay.
but it relieves the congestion inside
Right,
the FBO.
right.
And they process their bags. They bring in their own baggage carts and personnel as well, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, E&E,
E&E, we have three of those, three contracts with them, and that's, first is the on-call oil-fired services for $126,750. Each one of those is $126,750. The next is for the geothermal system, and then we have the HVAC services on-call contract. Next is a on-call airfield electrical system with Cobo. Utility Construction Corporation, it's for $123,563. And the next is a change order for Cobo Construction Company for the electrical vault that is at about 99% complete. We're just withholding a little bit of money because there's some doors that need to be repaired, but that project is finally coming to an end. And the last is still pending, and that's, we're awaiting either word on a supplemental discretionary grant for the funding, or if we go the employment or the entitlement route. McFarland Johnson has prepared a application for us, and they've been in contact with FAA. We're going to finalize the, confirm that they will allow us to submit or submit a grant application for an estimate as opposed to a bid. Because of the time frame that the FAA needs. We kind of shifted gears. We haven't heard anything on the supplemental discretionary, so I asked McFarland to prepare the application based on entitlement funding. But that's still pending until we get some level of certainty that we will be getting a grant.
yeah, and we normally wouldn't hear on those until the end of May, is that right?
Right, but we have to get their approval to put the request in based on
Right.
estimate as opposed to based on bid.
Okay. Are there any questions on the contracts?
I make a motion to adopt the pending leases, contracts, and agreements as enumerated on Exhibit 1, 5/14/19.
Second?
Specifically excluding McFarland Johnson, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And there's a second?
I second.
Any further comments or questions? Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Gasparo
Aye.
votes aye, and the chair votes aye. All right, good, thank you. Pending matters, general fund repayment.
We're hoping to get this off the agenda also tonight. This item was discussed last night at the joint meeting of the Finance Committee and the Select Board, and will go before the Select Board next week. We're hoping to receive your approval tonight. It is an updated MOU with the FAA. The only major change is the amount. The FAA is not allowing about $600,000, so the repayment will be $3.9 million. So we would hope that the commission would approve it, and then next week the Select Board would approve it.
Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Select Board and the Airport Commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Anything else? Commissioner Topham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Planzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Gasparo?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All right, good. Well, hopefully we will get this off the agenda.
That'd be nice, yeah.
Nice to see it go on.
Some closure.
Been a long time.
I'm sorry, the only other change was because of the amount change, the years were reduced by about 3 years, just because of the way the original MOU was written, so
But it's the same amount, annual
Same
amount.
amount each year, it's just not 20 years, it's about 17 or so. The next is the crew
And we're
quarters,
still getting some offset on that, are we not,
Yes,
from millings from the,
the in-kind services, yes, we
Right.
are.
okay?
Next is the crew quarters. No significant change there, other than that we are working with McFarland Johnson to develop the, what I'll call risk model for the financial analysis on what the housing costs may be. We have a draft of the RFQ for designer services, a rough draft of the RFP for an OPM, and we're also working closely with the town on development of an employee housing policy. The next one I need help with is the aviation wall. It's complete, everything's up. I'd like to, I just need some help coordinating or getting a date or understanding. Would the commission like to have a ceremony? What would you prefer?
Do you think a ceremony is appropriate?
I did speak to the woman,
Carrie?
cousin, and she said she didn't think there was any need of it because we hadn't done it for any others, but I know that the family in Colorado would like to see something done of John Lochran's.
Okay.
So it's I am,
I mean, the whole wall's been revamped, it's cleaned up.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Good.
Nice.
Looks nice.
Maintenance guys did a great job on that.
it's entirely up to you, I think, Mr. Rafter, and your staff.
What
and the
about,
commission.
We'll do whatever.
what about maybe just an overall dedication, you know, and then you can put it out there. It's not directed just to the one person that
Right,
was
exactly.
Right, and
Yeah.
yeah.
but it would just be a, you know, a quick kind of dedication ceremony to unveil and present the new wall.
This is probably too soon. I mean, it's too close, but it occurred to me just now that having it around Memorial Day would be a nice idea.
We might be able to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
We can poll the commissioners for your availability and see what we can pull together for that.
I'm around that weekend.
Yeah, me too. I just be careful, I think, of the parade and the other,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
the other.
Yeah, we
wouldn't wanna
could
conflict with-
do a brief one and tie it somehow together. Okay.
I think that's a good suggestion. Yes.
Wish I'd thought of it a month ago.
Alternatively, there's
That's all right, but
Flag Day maybe in June. That might be another
yeah, Flag Day would be another good day.
thought.
Okay.
What's
Well,
that,
June
the
14th.
Check
14th?
availability and see what we can
Yeah.
fit into a calendar.
All right, and well, let's get it off the agenda too. It's been in there too long.
Dan, it's okay to move on to the next?
Yes,
item?
please.
The next three items are essentially for ratification. You would approve the pre-applications for these grants. These are the actual grant awards from MassDOT for ASMP grants, and it's the 624 paint and pavement markings for $309,220.75. The apron concrete repairs for $807,500. And the airport layout plan update with narrative and spill prevention control countermeasures plan update for a contract extension and in the amount of $1,534.
Are there any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the three ASMP grant awards or to ratify them as enumerated in the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Further discussion? How do you vote, Ms. Topham? Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo? And the chair votes aye. All right, we have a landing fee incentive and noise corridor compliance update, I believe, from Mr. Carberg.
As well as I've asked Noah to address an airspace or aeronautical study.
And he's going to do that as well?
airspace, so
Okay,
yes.
good.
And there's a letter in your, when we get there, there's a letter in your packet for that. Or handout.
Thank you, Noah Carberg, Assistant Airport Manager. These slides should be familiar. I recycle the same ones for the last 3 years now.
Could you?
Traditionally, we give staff will give an update on the noise abatement efforts for the May commission meeting in advance of our busy season. So I'm going to start off with the landing fee incentive program. This is really the airport's one-of-a-kind program where our incumbent air taxi operators receive a 15% landing fee reduction for achieving compliance of 85% or greater with the noise abatement routes.
Before we go on, should we consider expanding that program to new service,
We have,
even though it's not even though it's not year-round?
I believe we expanded it, Allies is participating now.
Are they
And,
flying?
pardon me?
Are they flying?
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, that's correct. Allies is enrolled in the program. We have four companies now: AMA, Allies, Cape Air, and Rectrix, and hopefully a fifth coming soon. So this is the last year I'll show this slide in this format. I'll start compiling fiscal years together, but we restarted this program in fiscal year 15, catching the last few months of that fiscal year. And this shows compliance by airlines as they've come in and out of the market. The average monthly compliance rate has always been very high for AMA, which is Marine Home Center, and Cape Air. They both they both seem to have long-serving pilots, and they train these pilots specifically to the Nantucket noise abatement routes, and there have been continuity in those operations. The old Island Air, even though their compliance rates before they fell to bankruptcy were below 85%, this would skip back and forth between meeting compliance at 95 and 100%, followed by some very low rates. So the 84 and 72% figures don't mean that they were never compliant with the monthly routes. Those are just averages of the monthly routes. Rectrix, as they came on initially, they had some trouble meeting the compliance rate of 85%. The same factor. They had some very low initial rates before they brought up to compliance. And as of this fiscal year, they've been providing the highest rate of compliance to date. And then the same trend that I noticed before, as Allies has come online and has been training up their pilots. Their compliance was low initially for the most recent month of April, which I just completed, which is not shown in this figure. Their compliance rate was 100%. So they do train to and intend on flying the routes, but as we've seen with other entrants, it does take them a few months to sort of come online with what the expectations are as we go through monthly audits. And as always, I like to compare this to the bottom line, which is our non-program general aviation rates, which they're hovering between 42 and 55% compliance with the noise abatement routes. I always like to say the difference between the average enrollment and the GA program is what the noise compliance program brings us as far as compliance. So on the order of an increase of 40%. And as far as annual landing fee rebates, fiscal year 19 to date, we've reimbursed $22,000 to the airlines for their compliance. This, of course, will differ with the number of operations they put into the market. We have also been in an era of declining operations, so we will see how fiscal year 19 ends up.
This is through March, right?
And then the program statistics, partial year in fiscal year 15, but we're auditing around 3,300 flight hours per year on average. I'm sorry, 3,300 operations and around 250, 260 flight hours per year. That's an average of about 20 or 21 flight hours per month. Next slide. Complaint summary again, it's beginning to look like spaghetti, so this will be the last year of this graph. The most recent year, fiscal year 19, is in the beautiful royal blue. It does look a little bit chaotic, but we do follow a trend. Noise complaints are higher in the summer with operations, lower in the winter, absent a peak that we see in December. Next slide.
You mentioned the general aviation statistic, if I may. Do we have any indication that Nantucket-based planes are better at or worse at following the noise abatement rules than anybody else? anything you can cite
Yeah.
with some authority?
Nothing I can cite with authority, but I can report back either by email or for next meeting on if that
Why
holds
don't you do it
true.
at the next meeting?
I'm sorry?
Do it at the next meeting if you would, please.
Of course.
Thank you.
And my favorite part of the noise complaints summary is getting rid of the noise and, of course, averaging these complaints by fiscal year and normalizing them by 1,000 operations. So this graph reads on both the left and the right axis. The blue line is the average of fiscal year complaints, and it reads off of the graph on the left. Average long-term from 40 to 45 complaints during our peak summer days to just a handful or even 0 for most of the winter. The interesting part to me is always when you normalize these by operations, you still see the same trend. What this always says to me is that there is sort of a threshold of operations that we pass in the summer, where maybe it's that people are outside, maybe it's that a critical mass of operations are reached in the morning or evening hours where the complaint rate actually increases during those times. And that has been consistent from year to year in showing these stats. And our annual ongoing noise abatement efforts, these do remain the same. I do have one addition that didn't make this slide. We submit an annual noise abatement letter. We will get this out to about 41 operators that cover about 80% of our operations. This is probably the single most impactful thing we can do, and it's also the cheapest, so we enjoy it. We provide complaint investigation and follow-up. Anyone submitting a noise complaint to us, either through the online form, voicemail, email, or in person, we do investigate and provide that person with follow-up if they have provided follow-up information. In this, we utilize our noise abatement software to tell them in exact details about the operations, where it was, position-wise, altitude, why it occurred, and what we intend to do about it. In tenant meeting notifications, we notify all of our incoming tenants, especially for our summer tenant meetings, we notify all of the seasonal operators that, yes, we do expect you to get the noise abatement information out to your pilot group and to your flight operators. As you just said, we do keep an ongoing record keeping and data analysis that I find very helpful in investigating root cause complaints and identifying the best solutions for them. We will continue with our FBO catering handouts. We may vary the message. We have 1 or 2 postcard-sized letters that go into the catering on the general aviation side. This is our hope that it reaches the customers in the back of the seat responsible for the operation, and they might think to bring to their pilots, the question of, did we fly the noise abatement route, or make their flight times so APU noise is minimized. Our FBO signage is mostly digital. We still maintain some hard copy signs in the FBO and in the pilot's lounge. We maintain an APU action log. Our count for fiscal year 18 was 30 notices given by operations staff. And coming up this summer, we do have a noise investigation effort with McFarland Johnson and VHB, the sub-consultant on the project, to look at ground noise on the south apron during a peak weekend. That's yet to be named, whether it's 4th of July or ops, but it will be one of our peak summer weekends. That's my last slide, correct, Dave? Yep. So that's a quick whip through our noise abatement efforts. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions, Mr. Carberg? Thank you very much.
Okay. The second item, which is somewhat related, we received notice through the FAA 7460 process. It reviews obstruction, and this should be a draft,
There's a letter.
either in your packet or as a handout. We recently received a postcard. It's an automated mailing in regard to the Vineyard Wind application for a wind turbine farm southwest of Nantucket. These are typically promoted through FAA lines of business into neighboring relevant airports to comment on obstructions. It's a known and standard process with the FAA. I only singled it out for your attention for a couple reasons. The commission took a very active role in the similar notification for Cape Wind several years ago, and I wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to opine in the same manner. And I believe the commission's intent and interest in noise abatement would also interest them in ensuring that any obstructions or routing concerns that happen from this development, that you would want to be able to understand and comment if they had a change on the noise abatement routes for the airport. The other items that I just wanted to draw out for your attention, the FAA notice is incomplete regarding the size of the operation. The FAA notice cited 8 turbines. The project size is 84. I identified 3 areas where the commission might have concern. And the other point that I wanted to note, if you wanted to retain, I suggest that we petition the FAA to lengthen the comment period, because if the commission did want to have a public debate on this in an advertised session, they would need the comment period extended. So I have drafted a letter for your review. You may obviously take it or leave it, but just my suggestion on how the commission might want to approach this.
Oh, I would just ask too, in terms of clarifying the project, could you please clarify that Fred Yeager's no longer the airport manager?
Yeah,
That's who was sent.
that too.
Project has grown since he was the airport manager, from 8 to 8.
8 to 80.
So you're asking us tonight to approve this letter to the FAA requesting the extension of the comment period and pointing these specific areas that we'd like them to focus on?
I'm asking if that's the commission's will. The commission can ignore this, ask us to just provide this information without requesting an extension to the comment period, or provide this information and request an extension to the comment period, whatever the commission's
But
will
this
is.
information would come, we would generate it, the material required to get the information, or it would come as part of the FAA process?
We would ask the FAA for clarification on these items. We don't have the institutional ability to ask what the air traffic effects would be. Or
So
to
should-
dictate what
my
the-
only comment would be, shouldn't the letter say that? Also seeks answers from the FAA to the following questions.
Correct, I could clarify the letter as such.
Any other comments? Mr. Gaspar, you look deep in thought.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it through, but that's fine.
All right, well, let's, Ms. Planzer, do you have any comments or questions? Have you seen,
I do not.
you've seen this?
Yes.
Okay. I will then ask for a vote to endorse sending this letter, Mr. Rafter sending this letter to the FAA. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion, but with your addition or correction that you wanted to put in, please.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
further discussion or comment? Commissioner Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Topham?
Aye.
Commissioner Gasparo?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, Mr. Carberg, and go for it.
Thank you, Nathan.
All right, moving along to the Airport Road Declaration of Surplus Property.
This is a
This is a
declaration of.
bizarre one.
Yeah, well, it's a requirement through procurement. We have to declare surplus property. And this is for an operation in the temporary tent that we're going to be putting up for somebody to serve snacks and non-alcoholic beverages. We're working with our legal group as well as Katie in procurement. But the first step here is to put out the disposition of, or declaration of surplus property, rather.
And at the moment, for this summer at least, there's no plan to have alcohol in this.
Correct. It would be light snacks and non-alcoholic beverages. And we would hope to be back next month to the commission with a proposed agreement with someone on that.
All right, Are there
Just
any?
one question, and so this rate per square foot would be for the season?
Yes, we are limited because of we can do a 1-year procurement for under a certain amount. So the rate is essentially being guided somewhat by,
The fact that we
The
can't exceed the
parameters.
revenue that the,
next year we will have to put out a full RFP process and go through that.
Tom, can I just clarify that?
Sure.
The rate in there is actually based off of the assessed value.
It's based off the assessed, but the maximum
No,
we
I
can.
understand that, but my question was, so if you do the math, it comes out to $3,744. I understand that,
Okay, then he was answering.
right? And I was just trying to determine the term of that.
is this a specific number, identifiable number of square feet, or is it a rolling number of
No,
square
it's
feet?
a specific, it'll have to be a specific identified area in the tent.
All right,
12 by 12.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I forget the numbers.
The original figure, if I remember correctly, hearing at the meeting that I wasn't here for, was like $35,000 or $36,000,
that's
wasn't it?
about right, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Are there any further comments?
Make a motion to endorse the declaration of surplus property.
I think we had, there are a number of findings that go as part of it, so it's not I don't think it's an endorsement, I think it's an approval of the declaration, is it?
Approval.
Yeah. Just for the record. Is there a second?
I'll second that and say thank you for no drinking, no alcohol.
Commissioner Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Topham?
Aye.
Commissioner Gasparo?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, thank you. All right, third quarter finance report.
I'll just try to go through that briefly with you. Our revenues are up by about 2 million year to date. We've exceeded the annual budget amount by over 300,000, and our expenses are up about 1 million year to date over last year. Both of those are driven primarily by fuel. If you back out the fuel, our expenses are up just a slight percentage, and the revenues are more than covering it. Some of the drivers of the increased revenue are airline landing fees are up $60,000. The rental income's up over $255,000. Our miscellaneous income of $238,267 is from the reimbursement for the bag belt project that we've been after for a number of years. And our advertising, Katie and Lil have done a tremendous job. There's an increase of over $60,000 in that. Our net earnings year to date with the application of retained earnings is about 3.1 million. And then after transfers and projected balance at the end of March will be about 2.5 million. Was 2.5, I'm sorry.
I mean, I think this is all very good news, and by the way, I like the format.
Yeah, the town also came out with a new format, and it's pretty good. It has quarter to quarter, year to date, executive summary, so.
My question is, because I can't tell from this, what is the likely fund balance in the fuel revolver at the end of the fiscal year?
I will double check with Jamie. She's already done a pro forma for all of it for the end of the year. And she can tell us exactly where it is. I'll get that for you. I apologize. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay,
but
that's fine.
It will more than cover what we projected in the operating account, as well as the increased or the changed cap in the revolver.
Okay. Thank you. So next month you'll come back with that.
Yes.
Thank you.
And one question.
Yes.
To what would we attribute the 8% $60,000 increase in administration?
In overall administration,
Yeah.
I'd have to look, to be honest with you, but it could be something as simple as office supplies and things of that nature. Which line item were you looking at?
Administration under operation, it's an 8% increase, so that's just why it caught my eye. In terms of $60,000. You don't have to.
I'll have to get that detail for you.
And you'll send that to all of us, correct?
Yes, yep.
Please.
But there's also a 2% reduction in operating expenses.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
curious of a number like, you know, you don't have to break down
Well, no-
every little thing, but if
no,
there was
but-
something you could say, oh, we spent 40 on a certain.
And Jamie's liable to say, yeah, you know, we recategorized and we put something here instead of there.
This may
so-
have been,
She has-
I'm speculating, so don't hold me to it, but it may have been payments related to retirements.
It could be, I don't want to even speculate,
Yeah,
I want
okay.
to guess.
That's all right.
Jamie,
It's- I'm just
I
curious.
give Jamie credit, she will
Yeah.
have an answer and it'll be very specific, trust me.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you for the financial report. It looks good.
Now, this is an easier format for me to see.
Manager's report, Mr. Rafter, please.
Okay, on the project side of the house, the administration building rehabilitation to fix the flood damage, bids are due out shortly. We're anticipating award at the next meeting. The Holdrum Phase 2, the flooring has been installed. Most of the fence work is complete. Temporary tents are being installed this week. We also, Johnny came up with an excellent idea. He changed where the electrical runs will be, and it's going to go underneath the floor instead of on the fence. So that will help in terms of the overall turnover each year. And we're going to be evaluating whether or not we replace the temporary with the permanent when the permanent tent comes in. As you know, there was a delay in delivery of that until late June. So we're going to have to look at the time frame and what our traffic looks like at that point in time, whether or not we can erect that. The concrete hardstand construction project is complete, and MassDOT has agreed to allow us to use the additional funds for some taxiway patching and testing. The runway markings work is completed. It was a bit of a challenge due to the condition of the runway, and there's some residual impacts that we're working closely with our engineer on. McFarland Johnson was in today. Brian's here tonight. We have some issues on the center line. They're working on what the resolution to that is going to be, and we're most likely going to have to request either an exemption or some procurement process waivers to get that done because of the level of traffic that is coming upon us, and we want to try to get that done before the peak. So, and I want to say also in your packet is a letter to the staff, and I would hope that you would join me in thanking them. The maintenance and ops staff did a tremendous job. Some of the maintenance guys were working 16 and 24-hour shifts. The contractor was out there with significant staffing as well, and it was a very, very good job, a lot of dedication to get the runway back open in as short a period of time as we could. So I thank them, and I think they did a tremendous job. So.
May we have a resolution to thank the staff for this? I don't think we need to take a formal vote on it, but if everybody's agreeable,
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely.
do that.
Yes.
And okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll get that out.
I'll thank them.
Yes, please thank them for us.
The generator for the airfield lighting has been installed. The cutover is completed. The land and hold short lights are operational. There's one minor issue, as I mentioned earlier, the doors. We discussed a post-screening opportunity. There's been no change on the airport layout plan update and geometry issues. The EAEIS work continues. They're working on developing the report. The tank compliance services, new tank has been installed at the air traffic control tower generator, and we're working on obtaining a price to remove the old tank. The PFC application work continues, and we're coordinating with McFarland Johnson on that. This is the second PFC application that will be prepared. The Bunker Road drainage issue, McFarland has been out to inspect the area and will be providing us with some a solution that hopefully we can do in-house. We can fix in-house with some of our own staff. And the fuel farm rehabilitation work, they're finalizing task order and scope. They've had a team out looking at that work as well as the security project work. and working to put together a very detailed scope of work for that. On the RFP bid side of the house, you approved the on-call electrical and HVAC. IT services there were 2 bids received, they're being reviewed. The fuel supply bids were reviewed. We're looking to go to the next step to begin negotiation with the selected vendor, the highest selected, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can when we hear back on that. And the Bunker Road parcels were advertised. The opening has been extended until June 4th. On the operations side of the house, our certification inspection is May 22nd through 24th. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I will not be present. My daughter is graduating. I've talked to the inspector, and she's in fine hands with Noah and the staff, so I'm very confident that they'll do a great job. I may have mentioned before that we responded to Mass DEP on this PFAS issue, and we're continuing to work with that. We'll be setting up a meeting with them to discuss our future plans and what may be needed for testing and things of that nature. The security system I mentioned a little bit earlier, we had a meeting with our project manager last week, and yesterday McFarland had a team on site, spent the entire day and then some with Dave going through every aspect and every little piece of the system so they can get a good understanding of what's necessary for design. We are still working with FAA to try to get their approval that they will issue a grant or accept an application based on estimate. Any questions before I go on to statistics? Well, oh yeah, do you have those? As part of the concrete repairs, some aerials were taken. I just wanted to kind of give you a shot. That's actually the crew that was working on the runway markings, and those 2 big trucks that you see out there, each one of those is over $1 million. So it involved water blasting all the markings for the entire runway and then repainting them as well. And we ran into some issues where some of the markings that were out there were not up to standard, so they had to be relocated. This is a picture of the concrete project. You can see the long strip at the top right is on the taxiway. And then we have the 2 hard stands. We added a third at the top. We added that hard stand. We extended the tug area where the pushback tug is because we experienced some rutting there. And you can see in this picture what I call the dance floor. It looks like a chessboard where the tent will be erected this week. It's a little bit closer up picture of the hardwood flooring that's been installed, and the fence around it is about 90% complete. I think we had one more. Is that it? There you go. That was under construction, the concrete project. You can see where the existing hard stands boxes were. The new one at the top is all brand new. The other 2 positions, we extended both the hard stand as well as the tug pushback area.
Will the wiring under that wooden thing be protected a little bit? I'm just
Yes,
worried about.
it's in conduit. It has to meet a
Okay.
certain code as well.
Thank you.
So, on to statistics. Now, this hasn't been said in a long time, but the operations for March were up. Up 7.84% over last March, down year-to-date 24.3%. General aviation operations were down 9% for March.
What was up? What was up in March, the operations? I couldn't,
Oh, in terms of what made the change?
yeah. We don't have last year to compare it to.
Air taxi. Well, I'm pretty sure it was air taxi though, I think. I'd have to look, Dan, to see what the specific was. So the employments are down 6.5% over last March and 4.16 year to date. Cape Air saw a decrease of 10% in employments. Nantucket Air was down 32%. Tradewinds was up 13%, which is 1 passenger, and Retrix was up 32%. In the Boston market, Cape Air had a 10% increase. New Bedford traffic down 61% or 221 passengers. We believe that's driven primarily by the completion of large construction projects on the island. So if any other large projects come up, we're hopeful to start to see that come back. The Hyannis market for March was down 5% overall or 72 passengers. Cape Air was down 21 passengers, Nantucket Air was down 244 passengers, and Retrix was up 193 passengers. In the JFK market, Cape Air carried 87 passengers with a load factor of 33%, which, it's starting out, and I think it's going to be great service. Retrix has discontinued their LaGuardia service and will be instituting White Plains service in its place. The Vineyard traffic continued decline, was down 67% or 46 passengers. Jet A gallons sold for March were down 12% or 1,062 gallons, and year-to-date is up 10.4%. For April, they were down 16.7% or 5,463 gallons. Avgas was up 42.35 for March and year-to-date 17.5. And for April, they were down 1.9 or almost 2%. April figures were mostly driven by Daffodil, which was off by 30% this year, and some of that's attributed to the weather. The freight for March was up 10.1% over last March and up 5.84%. And Dave pointed out a very good observation here that Cape Air is reporting freight in addition to their mail service. So we're going to inquire as to what that is representing.
Would that be freight coming from Boston or somewhere?
Well, the only freight that they were supposedly operating was the medical that we allowed through small counter. They indicated they weren't going to be doing any freight, so we don't know where it's going. That's what we want to find out. It may also be that they didn't report and they're catching up. I don't know. So, and noise complaints, there were 0, which was the same as last March. Any questions on stats? On the personnel side of the house, I'd like to welcome Katie back. We're glad to have her. I'm sure Lil's taking a deep breath too, Lil did a fantastic job. I'll give her a lot of credit, but we're really glad to have Katie back too.
Yes, indeed.
Seasonal employees, we're processing those and training them. We have folks in operations, maintenance, security, FBO, and this year we're going to be adding a couple of security guards to supplement our system for this season. Operations employee Duran Spence applied for and was awarded a scholarship to attend the Advanced Airport Safety and Operations Specialist School, which he attended in Buffalo, New York. Won a full scholarship for that. And at the same conference, Assistant Airport Manager Noah Carberg became an accredited airport executive, which is the industry standard for professional airport manager. I can attest to the fact that that is not an easy accomplishment, and I'd just like to say congratulations to him. It was very difficult. So good work, Noah.
Congratulations.
Sure, we all join in that. Congratulations.
But how about Durand? Was that full scholarship? How long was that program, or
It was, I think it was a 2-day,
2-day?
but they pay for the airfare, the hotel, the
Right,
course,
yeah,
everything.
I
So-
saw an expense account there.
So
for
he
a minute.
took the initiative to put in the application for the grant and was successful in having it awarded.
Great.
Very good.
So, yeah,
Congratulate him too, please.
I will. And that's my report.
Any questions for Mr. Rafter? Commissioners' comments. Commissioner Planzer, do you have any?
I do not.
I do not.
I have a couple. One is, I don't know whether you all received it or whether I was supposed to forward it to you, but the annual notice from the town about taking the ethics test and complying with all the ethics rules. Did you all get that, or do I need to send it on to you?
I got it from, not sure if from you, but from Commissioner on Disability, and I thought I'd wait till June to see whether I need to do it for the airport.
You do.
I do?
Apparently, you need, whether you're on any commission or board.
Well, I
you have
know,
to do
but
it.
so I
Yes.
will do it.
So
for
I will
Commissioner.
I will forward it to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
The second thing is just comment on Mr. Rafter's notation about Cape Air service to Manhattan. If you're willing to spend your IRA on it, it's an amazing experience, and particularly on a nice day. I flew on it on April 30th from here to Kennedy. It was a gorgeous day. We went right over my house and I took a picture. But the most interesting thing and an exciting thing about it was landing at JFK.
A small airplane, you don't get to
Because
do that every day.
Yeah, you don't normally see where you're going in a, 7 whatever or Airbus, and flying in there was just unbelievable. And once you got on the ground, of course, you're worried about being squashed by an A380. But as I say, it was an incredible experience.
So does that mean if you spent your IRA, your children aren't going to get anything from you?
Exactly. Exactly. I don't. It happened to be the Monday of Daffodil Weekend, and I couldn't get anything through Boston, and fortunately, somebody else's IRA paid for it. But it was.
Disconnected.
I'm sorry.
I think it's disconnected.
Disconnect, yeah.
Andrew, are you there?
I thought she was on your cell.
No, she's on here.
Yeah, it's on her cell.
I was looking up her number.
Oh,
It sounded like snack to me, but instead of disconnect, I'm thinking
all
you're going for a snack.
Oh, there you are.
There you are. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not sure what happened
What
there.
happened?
I don't know either, but we've been pretty quiet since you went off. There was something about you being disconnected. There is interference on this phone, which is really weird. Anyway, is there public comment at this time? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to review executive session minutes as enumerated in the agenda, under Clause 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining of the Nantucket Memorial Airport Union contract. The chair has determined that an open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the Airport Commission. And under Clause 1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than the professional competence of an individual. And not to return to public session.
that is my motion.
Thank you.
That is my second.
Commissioner Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Topham?
Aye.
Commissioner Gasparo?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. We're going to take a short break here while we